Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
All right, Mark, Drew, now that we're all good and worked up.
Lathery.
Yeah.
Lathery, that's right. Good and lathery. Well, this week was it.
Yeah, it was.
Let's see. Who do we start with this time? Who's angriest?
Absolutely
Who's
Drew.
happiest?
Yeah. No,
Who's most
I'm happy to
emotional?
go and
We'll go with-
eviscerate.
We'll go with Drew. Drew, what did you like? What was good? We're going to use the sandwich method. What was good? What was good that you liked about it? Old Obi-Wan, the finale.
Well, I like that it was the final show. That was great.
Thank God
Though
that's
it may not
yeah.
be. It may not be. You know, there may be a season 2.
So, things I liked about it. I thought that the dialogue between Obi-Wan and Princess Leia at the end of the show was good. I actually felt it. That was like probably the only time. There's only been one other time, like I mentioned it before, was in the first episode when he's sort of like when Obi-Wan's by himself and he has that loneliness kind of thing.
Calling for Qui-Gon.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was great. This was one of those moments that I thought that the dialogue was good, where I really felt it, and it felt very sincere. You know, McGregor did a great job doing that.
I love him as Obi-Wan.
So,
I really do.
I like that. I love that dialogue talking about how she's like her mother and how she's like her father.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things I think it kind of pushed on, probably a positive thing, was obviously that Obi-Wan, I think the only good thing maybe to come from this, perhaps in the storytelling, was that Obi-Wan no longer feels responsible. Like, I think his responsibility was, once after the fight and Darth Vader says, you know, you didn't kill Anakin, you know, I did. And it's like, it relieves him of responsibility. In a weird way, whether Anakin, that was his last good thing he's ever done, or whether he, in his stubbornness, wanted Obi-Wan to think that you didn't beat me, I beat myself. You know, It could have been either one. It could have been Anakin doing one last nice thing.
No, the last good thing he did was throw the Emperor over the rail.
Well, the last,
last at that
before
time
this.
period.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think in
Last
a
thing before he
way,
got donuts.
Obi-Wan takes that to heart, and then he realizes that his friend Anakin died, and that is not his friend anymore, and Darth Vader. So I thought that was good when he mentions. I think that allowed him to speak of Princess Leia's father in a positive light, which I think was good. So I liked that.
To finish the mourning, if you will, for him.
Yeah, and truthfully that he's dead, even though we know he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically he's come to terms with the death of Anakin. So I thought that was really good. I thought the battle was okay. Will it be a battle I ever go back and look at? No, I will never watch that again.
Was it? It was, but
it was
you would
better.
Say it was an improvement over.
It was a huge improvement.
Yeah.
That
But
wasn't
the bar,
hard, but-
the bar is low. The bar is very low.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, some of the things were pretty cool at it. I would have liked to have seen other Force abilities besides chucking
Well,
rocks.
that's all right. Just
You know,
what'd you like? What'd you like?
But I liked that they did at least do some other variations on the Force while they fought, because I would think, being Master Jedis, that you would learn to, you know, it's just like being one of those martial artists that can mix boxing and karate and jiu-jitsu, and they mix all that stuff, and they know they have a pre-programmed dance in their head or strategy of 1-2 punches using different abilities. And I think as a Jedi, I think you would be in that same boat. Like, you know, I hit him with the lightsaber, I do this, and then I give him a force push, or then I push something on top of him that gives me an opening for my lightsaber again. I would think so. You did get to see a little bit of that. Could have been better, but for the most part, based off of a low bar, I think that was better. I think, I mean, they were like the only things that I thought were good in it.
Yeah.
There are plenty of plenty of plot holes that are so
Well,
big you could drive a starship through them.
sure. What'd you like, Mark?
Almost nothing.
Really, you
I
didn't
didn't
like
like.
the fight?
No, the fight was. Listen, man. We've had the prequels, which, like I said, have really elevated the lightsaber game. We've had a lot of great movie cinema or video game cinematics, which have done really, really cool things.
Yeah.
We've got fan films like that reimagined Star Wars fight. Um, and we've got the other trilogy with Rey and them that had some cool lightsaber stuff. Like, you can't phone in lightsaber stuff if you're going to do an Obi-Wan series. Sorry, I'm not buying it. Like, you guys did not bring your A game. This is the Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus, and that's what you're going to give us?
All right.
No,
Well, I will.
it was not up to, listen, man, we can expect certain standards from a billion-dollar company that now owns this mega property, and you want to put out content and get us to give you $15 a month, man, we're there. I'm on board. I give you my money. I've been giving it to you for a long time, and these are the 6 episodes you're going to deliver. It is substandard and ridiculous that this is what you delivered. And the couple of 3 little good points that were like, oh, that was pretty cool. Okay, that was kind of cool. Pale in comparison to the sheer amount of crap that was crammed into these 6 episodes that, tried to retcon this and messed with the original trilogy and what happened. And now Luke's not going to remember that somebody with a lightsaber was chasing him when he was 8 or 10 years old. I mean, like I say, there's so many plot holes and it's so stupid and ridiculous. And let's get into the technical issues of the shaky cam. Which has never been done in any other Star Wars show or movie that I'm familiar with.
There's a couple things I do want to say that I did like.
Okay.
One, I love Ewan McGregor's acting. As always, Ewan McGregor is top notch in his acting.
Cool, they gave him terrible lines and terrible stuff to do as a good actor.
I get it. And trust me, I got a laundry list of things. The only reason I'm saying this is because these are the things that I hope would be actually not thrown out with the bathwater. There were a couple things in there that I liked. His scene where he's telling Anakin, I'm sorry, where his eyes are welling up with water and he's just so emotionally distraught, and Anakin is that juxtaposition to him and all of that. That scene to me was really good because of his acting. You could see the emotion in his eyes. That was Obi-Wan that was his friend. He raised him from a kid and all that. That was emotion you never got even in the prequels, because I'm guessing Lucas I don't know, his directing style is, well, here's a 2x4, act like that, and so to see Ewan McGregor able to actually emote something that way was great. I loved seeing that. Really strong force. And I loved seeing Hayden Christensen being able to be Vader, and that little look of almost like a smirk when he said, I killed Anakin, like you were talking about, Drew. He was probably trying to hurt Obi-Wan with that, but in essence ended up freeing him, right? Okay, I dig that. But his delivery with that was good. I like that. I like that too. I also like that bit at the end. That was the bit that really emotionally touched me as well, was when he was talking about the gifts from his or her father, and were given to you by your mother, and they bore an exceptional daughter, that kind of thing. That was really well done too, and very emotionally impactful, and speaks to his ability to take me from a series like that and give me a moment where beforehand I was like, and then in that moment I was like, oh, wow, that was good. That's something where you can take someone out of that doldrum into this. So I loved his acting. I thought he was good with that. I also liked, I can never remember her name. The actress who plays Reva.
Moses something.
Yeah, Moses Ingram?
Yes,
Is it?
Moses Ingram.
Yes. Her acting at the end when she's actually crying, and talking about, have I become him and all that. Whilst the dialogue, I don't think was written well, her acting of that was emoting an emotion, giving an emotion they did not allow her to give in the other episodes. She was so one note in the other episodes. This was the one time I got to see depth from that character, some trauma, some sort of motivation by those emotions. That was great. I wish they'd have let her character be more of that, more complex, more motivated that way in the earlier episodes. So I like that too. I think it allowed her to show some of the chops she has that she's done in so many of her other work. So I like that as well. Qui-Gon, I loved seeing Liam Neeson, come back for his bit as well. I thought that was good. And I did like seeing Obi-Wan get a little bit more force recognition, wherein, like you were talking about, Drew, with using the different objects and different things for techniques and stuff like that. I love that. In a lot of the other ones that you were talking about, Mark, things that were really cool out of there was that they really explored, like the old Republic games and the cinematic trailers they had for those. Malgus would use all kinds of crap, and throwing all kinds of stuff at people and doing things and all of that. So bringing the boulders in, rocks, and tripping somebody up like Vader tripping Kenobi up with the boulder as he's hitting him with the saber and all that. I thought that was nice. That was nice there.
Yeah, the Force Quake was kind of cool.
That was cool as well. I love that. And Obi-Wan then getting his due, coming up and picking up all the rocks and doing the storm at Vader. I like the image of Obi-Wan lifting all the rocks up and then shooting them at him. So I liked those. But there's a lot that needed to be done better. Much, much better. As an example, and it wouldn't take much. As an example, I don't know if you saw this. This was somebody put up a side-by-side of the Star Destroyers from A New Hope and the Star Destroyer from this. So the side-by-side with that, if you take a look at it, the Star Destroyer from the old movie felt somehow more visceral, more real. And the one in this was muted and kind of, I don't know, it was kind of
I put that down to CGI versus model.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
yes, you're right. But if you look at like Rogue One, when Vader showed up in his Star Destroyer and he comes in, he's blasting all that, that was CGI too. But they replicated much better what you had in 77 than what they did in the finale of this.
Yeah.
Where the ships, I don't know, it was like the ships were computer generated and they didn't have weight to them. So the ships were like doing these weird moves in space and you're like, inertia's not going to allow for that. That just looks like I'm watching Buck Rogers from back in the 80s or whatever, and not watching a Star Wars movie from now, So there was that. But also there was another one that they took the duel and they set it to the music from Revenge of the Sith when Obi-Wan and Vader are fighting from there. And I showed it to Helena and asked her, do you think this makes a difference to you? And the difference was immediate. I mean, you felt more compelled, you felt more involved in the fight, you felt more emotional impact from it, just with that. And if they'd have done something like that, just a small thing like that, and I don't know why they wouldn't, because you have access to that stuff, it would have made such a huge difference.
All right, so Sean, you make good points, but at the end of the day, this was a train wreck. Like, I love Star Wars, and this is what you're bringing us. I'm sorry, you've lost me. Like, Disney, you have all the money, you have the technology, you have all of these CGI models of all this stuff, and there are so many holes. Like, and again, this goes back to the story and the writing, right? So I'm not talking about technically how they pulled this off at this point. This story was stupid and ridiculous, and it was so dumb. And again, I don't know where to start. Let's start with this is the only Star Destroyer we've ever seen that doesn't have fighters.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah.
Right?
No
this is our secret base where we saw fighters, but we decided not to use them.
Right.
Yeah.
No 72 TIE fighters on that Imperial
Right.
cruiser.
No swarm of TIE fighters coming after this one little transport. And again, this is just lazy and stupid. These problems stem from the writing room and the putting the story together. Like if you gave me 6 episodes to tell an Obi-Wan story, I say with all confidence I would do better than this. I say with all confidence there are so many people working in Hollywood right now that could do better than this. Deborah Cho? Is she the one that wrote and directed most of it? Like she must have compromising pictures of somebody to have wrangled this job.
She doesn't have a lot of experience,
and she missed. And again, I don't think you need a ton of experience, but you could have brought those guys who did the reimagining of the original Star Wars story, Star Wars fight. You could have brought them in and be like, handle our choreography.
Or the director of those cinematic trailers. Why wouldn't you bring somebody like that in? Well, but this is the question I had for you, because I was thinking about you yesterday, or when I was thinking about, well, what am I going to talk about with this? I had a question for you, Mark. Do you think that they may have been, I don't think they were, but I just want to pose the question. Do you think they may have been trying to see just how little they could get away with?
That's what it feels like. This feels like it was phoned in.
If they put major characters in there. Like, if we put major characters in there and then give them crap, will they still eat it up? You know?
Maybe. Like, maybe that's what they're thinking.
There's also the thing, like, this is the other thing I noticed. It's like, okay, well, it's almost like when you write an outline and you say, okay, there's this A, B, and C are going to happen. Have to happen. And then you don't work out what happens between A and B for B to happen. You know, you just want B to happen, and you don't give a crap about the story lining up to make that make sense. And they did that constantly in this episode in particular. They've been doing it throughout, but in particular, like, okay, how did Reva get off the planet? How did she recover from her injury? How did she, get to Tatooine so fast?
That was the first thing I thought.
Like, it takes me a half an hour to drive up to the store, because I miss a couple traffic lights. And you expect me to believe that Obi-Wan literally jumped in a ship, hyperspace over to another ship, flew down from orbit. Like, how long does that take when you think about just going from orbit to the planet surface? You're not doing that at hyperspeed. And, he was on another planet when this foot chase started.
Right.
And he gets back. This is what I'm saying. Like, this, it's unforgivable. You know what I mean? There's enough competence in Star Wars storytelling that we've seen that, I'm tired of making excuses. If this is what you're going to give us, then clearly you have no respect for the Star Wars franchise. Like, I don't know what you guys are doing. This was a big FU, in my opinion, to Star Wars fans. Like, you took Obi-Wan and Darth Vader off the shelf and put them in a series, and this is what you gave us.
And you started off wanting to like this.
Everybody started off wanting like
no. I mean, I remember after the first episode. I remember at the end, you were like, "Man, I don't like that nearly as much now that you and Drew have talked to me about." And man, so you went into it. What I'm saying is, you gave it a very fair shot. And over that time,
and I'm tired of carrying their water. This was substandard at best.
And then what happens to Reva at the end and all that? But here's the other thing. So you got those two major plot holes. It's mostly around Reva, like, how in the world did that happen? How did she survive this lightsaber to the chest? How did she get off planet? Did they leave a ship for her? I mean, it's just so ridiculous. She got an Uber, I guess, and had it, and they had a bacta tank inside of it. So she was in the bacta tank in the Uber. Hell, that would have been at least plausible. She said, "Oh yeah, I got a space Uber, and I'm in the bacta tank, and they got me to Tatooine, and now I'm taking on some big burly guy, and being all tough to find out where, Farmer Owen is." And so, so that's all like a pile of steaming crap right there. And then there's you look at when Obi-Wan is on the ship and, I'm thinking, God, where are the TIE fighters? What is going on here? How can they not? Where's the tractor beam? What is going on here?
Yeah, and then he's volleys of fire from a Star Destroyer for like an hour.
Yeah, and then you know how many guns are on that freaking ship? And
then Vader shows up and it's like increased firepower. Like, we didn't think about that.
Been doing
I know, that drove me nuts.
And this is what I mean. Like, you know, of all the things you can have Vader show up and do, you know, like that's like showing up and going, "Hey, have you tried shooting at them?"
Yeah.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
He's escaping. Turn left.
That's
Keep
a neat
going.
trick.
But then there are like the minor things, you know, besides there's all those major things. Then there are the minor things like how ridiculous that little tiny ship being pooped out of the cruiser was that Obi-Wan was on. It looked so amateurish. It looked like, you know, when I remember having like a car carrier for Matchbox cars when I was little, and you put a car in there and you take off with the big car, you push it, and then the little car shoots out, like poops it out. Bleep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like. It's like, you know, they could have just, for one thing, the ship was shapeless, number one. It looked like somebody's razor, you know, like an old 1960s razor.
It reminded me of the shuttle off of Star Trek.
Right, but Star Wars has always been known for their uniquely shaped ship. Right, Slave One looks like an iron flying around in space. Right, the Star Destroyers are this big wedge, and what is it? The Millennium Falcon has got like the cockpit on the left side that looks weird. Like there's, and you know, the B, and what are those ones? The A wing or whatever. What's the one that it's got like a big blade? The whole body.
That's
is like
the B wing.
That's the B wing.
The B wing.
Yeah.
Like they've, you know, Star Wars has just had some very uniquely shaped, you know, ships, and this whole series felt like, yep, we reused the Lambda shuttle, and everything else is just like, it's generic spaceship 01.
Like they could have put the shuttle underneath the ship, you know what I mean, like a drop pod kind of thing, and he could have gotten in there, and it would have just dropped away and taken off.
Right, or like Serenity, where they kind of like half mate to either side. One could have took off, and
it just poops it out. The acting was terrible, except for except for Obi-Wan. You know,
here's the thing, Drew. Like, I am not going to throw any of the actors under the bus. This isn't their fault. When you give them a crappy story, right? I don't care how good of an actor you are. If this is the script and the story you're giving them, right? You know, like Moses Ingram might be a great actress. I can't tell from this. You know what I mean? Awful. Because they made her a terrible character.
They gave her one moment, and that's it.
And again, but that one moment from these 6 episodes, when you introduce her, she's cutting off innocent people's hands, right? And again, I go to I like the concept of here's a youngling that escaped Order 66, has infiltrated the Inquisition, and wants revenge on Vader. Man, you give me that as a pitch, I'm like, that sounds awesome.
Right.
And what did we get? We got her being a jerk. She's getting picked on. We found you in the gutter. They never really explained any of her backstory. And she's mean and petty. She shows no remorse for it. And again, I'll go back to Donnie Brasco. Like this, you know, this was a movie, undercover cop. He's infiltrating the mob. And, you know, at one point they're going to like some Japanese restaurant or Korean restaurant, and he's supposed to take off his shoes, but he's got like a tape recorder in there. And so he's not going to do it. He's like, oh, I'm not going to have these you guys told me to take my shoes off. They end up beating up this guy at a restaurant so that he could not blow his cover. And you know he felt bad about that. You know what I mean? He was like, oh, you know, I feel bad we had to beat this guy up, but I'm trying to get the bad guys. You know what I mean? I'm undercover. Right. I'm
it's my life.
This terrible
too.
Life. Right. and again, like shades of that applied to this story. There was no remorse for her being like, I'm willing to, you know, kill these people and kidnap Leia and do all these horrible things so that I can get close to Vader. But she doesn't feel bad about any of it. And then when she finally gets to attack Vader, she's so incompetent at it that he doesn't even have to draw his lightsaber.
Yeah.
What kind of plan?
And remember, this is a guy who has no arms and legs, right? Like they're mechanical. So she could have succeeded in like an ambush and literally like cut his arm off and cut his leg and think that she's got the drop on him and pull that kind of Oberyn in the mountain where we think she's gonna come out on top, and instead she doesn't. Like that could have been an amazing scene where she's, you know, like remember again from Game of Thrones that Oberyn in the mountain, you know, duel that was awesome. You know what I mean? And then it went south for
Oberyn. If he'd have done that with Reva.
Right, and again, I'm not even saying she had to die at that point, but again, you're like, you know, I lured you in here, and she like. You know, but again, this whole thing, this goes back to
or if she'd have fought the Grand Inquisitor to that, she sits there and crushes his skull.
And how do you like the fact that? How do you like the fact when Obi-Wan decides to leave, okay, and draw them away? I'll draw Darth Vader away. He entrusts a con artist with Princess Leia. I
Yeah.
mean, he entrusts a con artist.
Yeah. Oh, I trust
with,
you now because you dress like a
know,
Jedi
You
and
know,
fooled people.
you know,
what the what?
what about Vader deciding, okay, we're going to chase Obi-Wan, right? Well, if you're Vader, if you're sitting on that bridge, you know why he's leaving.
Right.
You know he's leaving.
You
So
follow
leave
them and
alone.
kill them.
Yeah,
I'm
you
going
follow
down.
them. Yeah, all right, there
Right.
you go.
And that's
Make sure
like,
he
and
sees
he literally
us.
took
Make
his
sure
shuttle.
he sees us, intensifying
And he took his
firepower.
shuttle to
Right.
go follow him. So it's not like he needed to take the Star Destroyer after him. You know, and again, this
So
is
bad.
this is structurally so
See,
cool. It was like written by a
Obi-Wan flying away. Damn it!
Yeah.
No,
But
no,
I
that
thought,
didn't work.
but I thought,
again,
Yeah.
you know, if this was our role playing game, you know, like we would have eviscerated this plan. You know, like again, like I say, this was so amateurish. I can't forgive it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this wasn't like a creative choice. This was dumb, and it was dumb on so many levels. And you waste this cool setup of Reva, you know, and she can't pull her thing off, and she decides to go kill Luke,
which
Why?
makes no sense. What's
how
the
is that gonna
motivation?
affect
Well,
Vader?
I was able to puzzle that out, but they did not get, because I saw a lot of people who were confused by the same
Here's
thing.
the idea: we shouldn't have to puzzle
No,
it
no,
out.
I
That feels
understand.
like we're
You're
making
right.
excuses.
You're right.
For your
That's the
shitty
thing.
storytelling.
That's the thing. On the one hand, this is what I don't understand. On the one hand, they make sure to spell it out to actually give you a coloring book they filled in on how Lola is now a bad droid. You know, I put a
turned
tracker
red.
with them. Well, as soon as she said I put a tracker with them, I was like, okay, she put it in Lola because that's the thing she grabbed. I guess she
Yep.
would sleight of hand. But then at the end, they have to show the droid with the evil red eye. You know, how does that work,
It's
right?
So stupid.
And everybody, you know, I'm not everybody, but I've seen a few people who are like, oh my goodness, they put it in the droid. Come on, man. You didn't know that was right. So they go to the trouble of coloring it in for you on that one. But then on the
Right. Which
Luke
let me stop you
thing-
real quick there. Which literally takes that moment away from Darth Vader in the original Star Wars
Yeah,
movie
it
when
does.
he lets the Millennium Falcon. He's like, "Oh, remember I got that idea from that Junior Inquisitor."
Yeah.
You know, like what was this master strategy of like, you know, him and Grand Moff Tarkin, like, oh, we let him go, and you know, you call that easy? They're gonna lead us to the Rebel base. Has been squandered with this little stupid prequel trick that
It
I put a
sounded like you
restraining
said,
bolt.
But then
Grandma
but then-
Tarkin, which I kind of like that idea of Grandma Tarkin.
But
Read
then
me
they
a story,
leave it,
Grandma Tarkin.
but then they leave this nebulous thing about Reva going after Luke, right? And they don't. And those same people are like, well, why is she going after Luke? I don't get it. You know what's? And then you're supposed to feel some sort of angst about whether she's going to do it. I mean, come on, you know
Right.
she's not going to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause
And it's getting to the point, like, it's so terrible that I like it gets to the point where I notice everything now because it's so terrible. Like, the other thing I notice is how the actor, the kid they got to play Luke, doesn't look anything like Luke
No.
than the Man on the Moon. I mean, you're in LA, for God's sakes. You can't throw a rock without hitting a blonde, long-haired blonde kid, you know, that looks like Mark Hamill. He's from California. You can't throw a rock in California without hitting somebody that looks like him. And they can't find
And it
a
might be
kid.
Mark Hamill.
And they can't find a
And-
kid
and again,
that even looks
the
like
little
him.
Leia kid, I think, does a good job of channeling
Right.
Leia. You know, I like
Yeah.
she was
Right.
fine.
But this kid doesn't look or act, or he doesn't act like a kid. He acts like
You
some
know-
pencil neck geek. I mean, it's
He's
like
barely in it, and I guess I think that's probably a
weird.
good thing.
You know the.
Let's not muddy
Weird.
the waters with trying to cram Luke into this thing as
The
well.
yeah, but the other thing is that, you know, I'd love to have a talk with Vader about his training program for his Inquisitors. they're getting stymied by falling, you know, awnings with, you know, fabric, so they can't go after a Jedi. They are getting stabbed through the chest by their subordinates without ever seeing anything like that coming. And they are letting, letting a Jedi Master and Senator's daughter leave in a long trench coat as
Right.
they walk right by them outside in the Inquisitorial Fortress. But then in this one, they're getting severely challenged by a farmer and his wife.
right.
and their 1897 Browning blaster, apparently.
Yeah.
That
Again, this whole series is lazy and
that was awful.
derivative and stupid.
That was
Right?
that part
And-
there
and
was like, why?
The whole thing is dumb. I like Owen and Baru. Like I'm digging with giving them a little more something to do or whatever. But see, here's the thing. Like I remember reading in one of the Tales of the Jedi, this graphic novel where like Darth Maul shows up, and he has this big fight with Obi-Wan, and Owen's the one that actually like kills him, and they bury him in the desert. And like that was like I read that and I was like, oh man, that's amazing. Like, you know, Darth Maul survived. He's got these mechanical legs. And in my heart of hearts, I was hoping that they would do something like that in this, because I've already seen better. It exists in graphic novel format, which is even worse for what this show is. And then I was like, okay, well maybe they're going to kill Reva like in the same way. She'll be a stand-in for Darth Maul, which still doesn't make any sense because why is she trying to kill Luke anyway?
Right.
That doesn't make sense. But whatever, I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. And of course, they didn't do that because she's got to survive, and I don't know. Maybe we're going to have a Reva show or something
I'm sure.
like that.
I'm sure they're going to, and I will not watch it at this point.
This Reva character, in concept, was super cool. I love this whole "I'm going to get revenge, Kill Bill" kind of thing that they had the setup, and to fail so utterly. And how to pull that off?
I kept thinking about your
disappointing.
thing, Mark. I kept thinking about your thing with how you were saying it's a missed opportunity for her plan to try to kill Vader. Could have been this whole. I kept thinking that as I'm watching the finale about how this could have been something so much better and so much more impactful and revolutionary and all of this if they'd have put the effort in over these.
And of
6
course
episodes.
she'll die at the end. But it makes you get the feelies when she dies, because it's like she's been through all this stuff and you're rooting for her, and she's up against Darth Vader. And I mean, it's okay for her to lose against him, because it's like even Obi-Wan in the end dies. Right.
You know? Now imagine if they put me in charge of the show, we decided to run with that. Okay. And she kidnaps Leia to lure out Obi-Wan, and it works. Right. And we have this big cool ass like fight with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and she shows up as well, and maybe is even helping Darth Vader until that pivotal moment where she turns on him. And I would have loved to have seen some kind of you know, Oberyn Game of Thrones fight where she's like ambushing Vader, cuts off his arm, cuts off his leg, smashes his helmet a little bit. Something like we're like, oh my gosh, like she's, you know, really done it. And he does some cool stuff with the Force and ends up like defeating her, whether she dies or not, you know. But when your whole plan for 10 years is to get in a room with Vader so that you can mess him up, and you finally get in a room with Vader and you never land a blow, that's your payoff for her big plan? Like, you know,
well, now
again, you can cut off both his arms and both his legs, and it does not affect the character. She can almost win. She can land blows, do damage to Vader, you know, and again, you give me first shot with my lightsaber or with my blasters or whatever, where Vader doesn't see it coming. Oh, we can't have that. Vader knew it. Okay, how will that? That doesn't make any sense either.
You know
what I mean?
But even if he does, you could put that into it. You could have him so now 10 years on, he is no longer the Anakin of old. He is now a product of Sidious and has this devious mind where he's really starting to think steps ahead. And then finally at the end, she realizes, oh my God, this whole time I've been a pawn in his plan, you know, or something like that.
Right. All the Jedi that she's tracked down and helped the Empire kill in order to work her way closer to Vader, she was being, like I say, this goes back to that whole like Donnie Brasco thing. Like he's doing horrible things for this ultimately kind of good benefit, but at what cost to his soul, right? Could we have done something really cool with her character following those same kind of story points? Absolutely. And instead, this bullshit is what we got. And that I can't think of a better term for it. This was dumb. It was stupid. It was amateurish. And you are mother effing Disney.
Yep.
Right? And these are our favorite characters, man.
These are our favorite characters.
That's
and
what hurts
this is
so
what
much.
You gave us. And again,
if you did it with somebody we didn't care about, that'd be something. But I mean,
this could have been just Reva. You know what I mean? Like her story, and drag in Obi-Wan or something from the for the finale. Like you see what I'm saying? Of course, then you wouldn't have called it the Obi-Wan series
Yeah.
or whatever. But there's so many ways this could have been done better. So yeah, I'm done carrying their water. If this is what you're going to give us, you don't deserve our money. Your job is to
Yeah.
entertain us, and this was not entertaining, except maybe at a 10-year-old level. Like we saw the Jurassic World the other day, and I came out and I was like, wow, it was really convenient that the first person she speaks to in this bar happens to be the person she needs to speak to. And I was also a pilot, and we needed a pilot. And, it was so convenient. And my 10-year-old was like, wow, you're just like kind of picking it apart. I think it's cool to see dinosaurs fight. And I'm like, yep, it is cool to see dinosaurs fight. And if that's all you're looking for in a movie, then you're going to love this movie. But if you want to get a little more sophisticated about your storytelling and kind of pick some things apart, there were some sins in that movie that were just unforgivable. And there were so many sins in this show that were unforgivable. And they have nothing to do with the production value, nothing to do with the effects and the CGI and the actors. It all comes down to, this is the story you decided to tell. This was the script that you went with. This was the timing and the pacing of the scenes you're going to put out. It was dumb. It was amateurish. And it, frankly, I can't, I almost have to put it down to malice, not,
Yeah, I don't see how they could
sloppiness.
see that's the thing.
How can a company that is so good at putting out, movies and shows and television, like they're in the content business and they know how to tell some good shows and movies and stories. And
Do they?
you're right. I'm starting to doubt that.
I think Disney is the absolute worst thing to happen to Marvel Cinema, to the Marvel Cinema when they were on their own, to Pixar when they were on their own, to Marvel Comics in general. I think they're a company, a large company owned by a bunch of shareholders who their whole object is to make money. They don't care how or if the content's any good. They know they just want to produce things and push them out there as quickly as possible. And then you have the aspect of, you got all these touchy-feely marketing people, that, we have to pander to these people and pander to those people and pander to that. So story writers, make sure here's a list of things you've got to include in your story writing. And then they hand it off to these guys, and then these guys are sort of like, sometimes you'll get good stuff because the writers may show they care, and they may not get so much executive producer pushback to the point where they can't write a story, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to get a good story, or you'll get something that we usually get, which is crap, which is a bunch of people pushing their influence.
I hate to say that I agree with you, but unfortunately I do. But see, here's the thing. I don't see an upside to pushing out substandard product. If you'd made Obi-Wan the amazing show we all wanted, we'd be telling everybody about it. We wouldn't be doing a show like this, eviscerating it on you. Like, go on YouTube and look at how many people don't like Obi-Wan. Like everybody.
But there are a lot of people that do. There are a lot of people that do.
And again, they're probably closer to my 10-year-old who were just like, lightsabers are cool.
Like they think, and there's also people that feel like the need that they have to like it. I don't ever get that idea. Like as much as I love Marvel, I will slam them when they do something that is bad. And there are people that will be like, oh, no, it was really good, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, no, it really wasn't. And I know everybody's tastes are different, but you're not going to tell me to look at this show objectively that you can't see the major problems with this show. And nothing is as obvious as the last episode. Like the plot holes are enormous. Like you could drive
structural.
A Star Destroyer through it.
Yes. Yeah, and like I say, these are really basic structural problems. Like the shaky cam, that's a choice. I don't think it fit to Star Wars.
I
hate
any previous thing.
I hate the shaky.
I get you, but I mean that's a director that's a DP choice. Like, okay, you want to do the shaky cam because it shows this, action or whatever. Like, I get it. It didn't fit. I agree with you, but again, that's not the problem with this show. Is the shaky cam? The shaky cam can be done well. I thought it was perfectly used in those like Bourne Identity movies.
See, I didn't even like it there because it takes away from seeing. It's like
I agree with you.
John Wick. The reason that was so cool is because you got to see everything he was doing.
Well,
I'm with you. I definitely disagree with that.
I definitely am the type of person that thinks shaky cam should be used sparingly. Like for example, Saving Private Ryan when you're getting off the ship and you're running across a beach. Perfect.
Yeah, that is a great example. Now, like that whole movie when they were using it, it fit the story they were telling.
Right.
Okay.
We should make a shaky cam committee. You have to run it through us.
That's right.
Right. But again, that is a technical storytelling tool, right? Shaky cam, put it on.
Do the notebook to shaky cam.
Right. But again, rolling over here, like,
Sleepless
forget about
in
that.
Seattle.
Like, that's nitpicking compared to the structural problems with
yeah.
this story of we have the only Star Destroyer in existence that doesn't have TIE fighters.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
know. No
Unbelievable.
AT-AT walkers, no AT-STs, only one shuttle, apparently, for Vader.
Yeah.
And that's
Which
it.
he could have took,
It's
because
just-
the shuttles can go to hyperspace, right? So
No
he could have took that
bombers.
shuttle and
Oh,
gone
God.
after, Obi-Wan from the
Yeah.
beginning.
No
I
tractor beam, no ion cannons.
It's
no
like,
nothing.
what's so funny? It's like these guys, the thing I hate about some writers, and this also happens in like the media comic books, there are rules set up in place for how certain characters react, how certain objects work, how certain abilities on characters work. And you have got to, as a good writer, you can still tell your story, but you just have to manage to think a little bit, put some effort into it, and you can think around all kinds of obstacles. And that's your damn job.
Right.
If you can't do that and you're too freaking lazy, then you should not have that job. You should be out of there.
Especially with one of the biggest properties in Hollywood. Right? Remember, in this six episode limited series, we have Obi-Wan who cannot like pull this little thing across a table using the Force. And we have Obi-Wan like throwing a meteor storm like he's an X-Men, mutant or whatever. And there's no real explanation as to why he's terrible in the beginning with using the Force, and then he gets really good, other than,
there is.
oh, he's a flashback, and he's like, I really love Leia.
That's right. It was Fifth Element.
It was the fifth element that unlocked his Force powers.
I loved that movie until the end, and that's why. It's because it ruined every other movie afterwards because they used that same thing. Love will solve everything, apparently. You don't need to train. You don't need to spend time being better. You only have to remember the good times when you sat in the photo booth and took all those shots together and then went shopping and then, all that crap.
Love will find a way.
Apparently. Love will find a way. Love will lift rocks and throw them at the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Why was he
terrible?
I don't even want to talk about it. I was so pissed he was getting hit
I
with
am
the rock.
tired of trying to make any kind of an excuse of excuses.
There
for
was
this
one
show.
that made
this show was awful. It had a couple of cool visual things in it. Yeah, it had some good actors in it, but you wrote their roles terribly. They didn't have good arcs. Like none of them. Like this 10-year-old, like Leia can do no wrong. She's awesome. Okay, cool, but like she's 10, man.
And it ran the gamut of problems.
Yeah.
There was from beginning to end. I mean, it wasn't like it started somewhere in the middle. It ran the whole gamut of bad throughout each episode.
Did you notice that they actually duplicated the thing that drove me nuts in the second episode? Remember I told you it drove me nuts when Reva comes into that room, the guys are all loopy on the floor. Where is he? Well, how the hell are you going to know, right? Did you notice they did that with Obi-Wan in this? He shows up on Tatooine.
Yeah. Where is she?
Luke!
They're like standing there calling out her
Luke!
name.
Yeah.
Or his name.
Right.
Oh, he's right over there playing with the sand because we're on Tatooine and that's all we have. What the hell do you think we're calling his name for?
You know what I was hoping was going to happen? I was hoping that the Sand People were going to attack her. I
have expected that
I thought,
too.
like, oh my gosh, how weird would that be if the thing that everyone fears, the Sand People, like, actually kill Reva and stop her? They actually saved the universe.
Right. No, or she gets into this big cool fight with Sand People, and maybe they're trying to attack Luke or kill him or whatever, and she ends up having to save him. Where a second ago she was trying to, but again, there's so many missed opportunities and so many things that could have been done, coulda, shoulda, woulda. The choices that were made in this show were universally terrible.
Well, they tried
and
to
at some point it just can't be a mistake.
They went out of their way to make sure he didn't see a lightsaber. I mean, it's like, because remember, he says that whole, they preserve that, which is so funny. They crap on everything else, but they preserve that. So it's like, this is the first time I've ever seen a lightsaber. And it's like, and put it to your forehead. Yes, put it to your forehead, Luke.
Yeah.
It'll
like
be
I say,
good for you.
It was awful.
It'll
there's a couple
solve
good
all
things
your
I could say
problems.
about it, but this was so bad.
Well, apparently he probably wouldn't kill him because everybody else seems
Everybody
to
else
survive.
does. Yeah.
You know, except for Qui-Gon Jinn and Han Solo. They're the only people that don't survive lightsaber battles.
No,
you
he
know.
survived. The fall killed him.
Right, exactly. Yes, it was the fall. And who knows, maybe he is still alive down there, like, oh.
Ow, guys.
He's a legend of the fall.
Hey.
He's gonna show up with like robot arms and hopping, like like Darth Maul did in Clone Wars, like grasshopper legs or something.
That was such a cool design, though. I love
It
that.
was pretty amazing. Spider
That was
thing.
cool.
It's
That
creepy.
was really cool.
I like that he was also whacked out of his mind, which was great.
Right,
But
but
yeah,
again, like I
it's-
said, we've had that graphic novel of kind of this whole concept of Darth Maul shows up to kill Luke.
Well, they
and
did that
Obi-Wan
in
ends up
Rebels.
saving him. Did they do that in Rebels?
Yeah,
Okay, I don't think
they-
I've seen that one.
They do it in Rebels. That's actually an excellent episode,
Okay.
and the battle is quick, like samurai, because
Yeah,
they're like,
that was a great battle.
Oh,
That was
okay,
a great
so
battle.
I was unaware. I don't think I've seen all of Rebels yet.
Yeah.
So okay,
You don't need to see all of it. You need to see the arc that has Vader.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to see the last season. And
They just kind of lost me
stuff
with the blaster
I know, the slingshot.
You know, I was like,
yeah, you just got to get through that first season, and really,
Skip
when you
the
get to
first
see
season. Just
when,
get to the one where Vader
when
shows
Darth
up.
Maul, the greatest thing about that is Darth Maul talking to Ezra, and he's so nice and so
Yeah.
like he seems so reasonable.
yeah.
Well, I actually
Totally.
think, see, that's how you write a villain like that. That's how you write someone like that, because he's actually, they give him depth. He's not just a villain. He's not
And he doesn't think
just
he's evil. He
Right.
doesn't think he's evil.
He's
What-
actually
Have
trying
you guys
to do
have
what
you
he
guys seen
thinks
Better
is-
Call Saul? Either of you?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
my
have.
wife and I are watching it because she's never seen it before, and so like we're in the final season now, and like Lalo Salamanca is like an amazing villain because he's so nice and so affable,
Yeah,
and
he's
so
great.
friendly, but he'll murder the guy at the
God.
Western Union just to look at the video or something. You know, like he's a ruthless, evil person, and everybody knows it. Like it is screaming. But he's so nice to everybody. So
Right.
you know, like I say, that shows some really good characterization and writing. And could we do something like that with Reva? No, we've got her being mean and cutting people's hands off and,
Oh,
and
when-
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, that's the thing. It was written by people who it feels like it was
Evil
written
people
or
yell a lot
choreographed
and are
or
mean.
something like that, who don't quite understand the nuance that goes into making a really good Star Wars film, where it's not just stereotypes. It's like they only wanted to put the stereotypes in there,
She
which
kind
is
of
Yeah,
weird.
it's like I
reminds
said,
me. Reva kind of reminds me of like Bluto from Popeye. You know, sort of like kind of just
Yeah.
mumbling, grumpy. You know,
All the
you know,
time.
It's just like it's such a cartoon. You know,
Yeah.
of a being. You know,
Yeah. And again, that's structural. That's not the actress's fault. Somebody wrote the character this
Yeah.
way, and it's terrible. She can't do anything with this character. You're mean and you're vicious and ruthless, and then you're sad.
They only gave her that one time. That's it, man. That one
Right.
moment
And
to
you
show
can tell
any sort of acting.
They set
chops.
this
And it
whole
was with a
6-episode
ridiculous
thing up
thing.
to be a vehicle to introduce us to Reva and give her, launch her own show and a bunch of toys and all whatever. Like, okay, that's fine. You want to bring a new character into Star Wars? I'm okay with that.
With all of this,
But you got to do a better job.
With what they did with this, they might as well have just put the Inquisitors in there doing their little Mary Poppins thing with the lightsabers.
All I can think of, I feel like being Norman Osborn. Like, thank God for you, Reva. Thank God for you. Meanwhile, the glider's going behind her. I'm like thinking, ready to spear her in the back. Thank God for you, Reva.
I just remember the first thing I thought was, how the hell did she get to Tatooine so quick?
Right,
What
she
is
just
this,
showed up
weeks
there.
later? What is this?
Well, to
And
be
then I
fair,
see
she
them
was
being chased
bleeding
by the
out.
Star
She
Destroyer.
was bleeding out on the floor of a hangar. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe she repaired that one ship that Vader tore apart.
As she's holding her cauterized intestines.
She's holding her guts in and like, I'm just gonna fix this.
You know what? We're forgetting about the pooped out space pod. She pooped out the space pod from that one and got on there like Obi-Wan, and took off. And maybe there it had some medical stuff in there, a bacta tank that she could crawl into while it went on autopilot. But you still gotta show it, mofo.
Right.
You can't just let us not know what's going on and suddenly 1 minute, it's just I don't know. It reminds me of it's comical. It reminds me of 1 minute. You're in an auto accident. Your character's in an auto accident. He's got a broken arm, and you're like, and you switch to something else, and then you come back, and he's at home, and he's having coffee.
Yeah. And he's fine.
He's fine. You don't see any results of, what transpired.
And again, the way they filmed it, right, is these events were happening concurrently. Tarantino often does things out of order and whatnot, and you're like, oh, when is this taking? This scene is before or after the other scene. Nope, the way this was, and Obi-Wan showing up at the end, she was on Tatooine while the other stuff was going on the ship with them trying to get away. All of that was happening because after the fight, he's like, oh no, Luke's in trouble, and he got to jump on his ship, travel to a whole new system. And again, this wasn't the same planetary system. This was a whole different planetary system. He had to jump to. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm like, to a whole new planet on the outer rim. You gotta jump in your ship and zoom out there in time for this fight to be over. Oh, like I say, it was awful.
It's Star Wars shows are gonna devolve into Idiocracy, in which it's going to be like Obi-Wan getting punched in the balls repeatedly. And we're like,
right. That's right. Or that movie Ass, where we're just looking at a lightsaber for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's either that or Darth Vader or Obi-Wan kicking each other in the balls.
I was glad to see Ian McDermott get a little screen time. I love Ian McDermott. He is another one who is an amazing actor. I will watch him as the Emperor. He could read the dictionary as the Emperor, and I'd watch that. Just animate a little Force lightning while he's reading it, and I'll be there.
Yeah. And again, this was so bad. The finale and the series was so bad that actually having Qui-Gon show back up, that was cool, and they were building that from the very beginning of the series. But even that payoff felt more like
do you think that was
fan
more of
service and anything else? It was like, oh, cool, you got that actor.
Do you think that was more of a missed opportunity too? Because they could have had a lot of psychological banter between those two as you're going through this.
It's
whole
now he
well.
shows up. Yeah,
right, now
I really
he shows
need
up,
you now.
See, and I hate.
Hey, Liam, we need you to come in for 10 minutes. To get
See,
this
I
film.
love Qui-Gon. I love Qui-Gon Jinn, man. And I thought he was to me, out of all the Jedi that I've seen out of the series since, from 77 till now, he was the one that I would actually say embodied what a Jedi would ideally be in your
now,
mind.
Imagine, I'm so frustrated by this series. Let's say Qui-Gon showed up earlier in the series. Maybe not as a blue Force ghost, but as a voice. Because remember, we had Run, Luke, Run right after Obi-Wan got killed.
I'm a man of particular
so what
skills.
if we had him literally guiding Obi-Wan and directing some of his decisions? I don't want to leave Luke. I got to stay here. No, you must protect the boy, or you must protect the girl.
Yeah.
And I could see him talking, giving advice or whatever. Give him a bigger role. That would explain to again. Talk about a missed opportunity. You could have brought him
time
in,
away from Reva.
been low key about it, not told us.
Gosh,
like I say, this whole thing was so many missed opportunities. Yeah. So the 3.5 seconds of him in the end of the last episode that does nothing for me. I was like, "Yep,
we've got
cool."
other bad characters to show other than Qui-Gon Jinn. We need to know about Lady that saves Obi-Wan twice. We need to put in, LL Cool J's son or whoever he is, Ice Cube's son or whoever the hell he is. He needs more lines. We got to fit, what's his name from Silicon Valley in there some more. Yep. We got to squeeze those guys. They're important. They're important, Mark.
They bring their own fan base to Star Wars, making it even bigger.
the feely marketing parts, it says that we need those people. We're looking at analytics here. You don't understand.
See, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, this guy trends really, really well with
That's
the
right.
25 to 30 crowd.
That's what it feels like they're trying to do this with. Any of the Simpsons shows where they've introduced the new, they do the mockumentary part about introducing the new flashy character for Itchy and Scratchy, updated and modern and all that. Yeah. And that's what it feels like, is that there's a committee behind the scenes, all in suits, who are saying,
or like the boys, or like in Barry,
Right. But I'm also of the opinion that you can do that stuff and still tell a good, entertaining story. You know what I mean? Like you can. I don't believe that delivering this crappy six episodes that checks all your marketing and research boxes, and you're like, we did a good thing. When the fans are like, nope, this kind of sucks, and everyone's like, oh, you're all just racist. No, this kind of sucks.
That requires a writer with a particular set of skills.
Well, then get a writer with a particular set of skills. Oh, you know what? You already
How about a room
have
full of writers with no actual skills.
Like I say, Deborah Chow, she must have compromised.
And maybe that's
somebody.
Maybe that's not fair. Maybe it was all executives or something. I don't know. Whatever. Whoever, the combination here didn't work. But you know what?
What?
We've got Andor to look forward to. So there you go.
Help us,
I don't know
Andor.
about you.
You're our only hope.
I don't know
Andor's
about you,
gonna
but
make
I'm going to
everything
Tashi
better.
Station to pick up some power converters.
There's a toy collectible store around here called Tashi Station. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
I wonder how many people have said that over the years. That one line, because it was so whiny.
It was great.
But I was going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
But you know what? Actually, it was really good because it did represent every teenager you ever met.
It did.
Right,
It
right.
did. And it made you understand why
like I said,
everybody wants
that
to
was-
slap you.
That was actually good characterization for this young farm boy that wants to get off the farm and he wants to go join the war and do all of, like I say, it fit the character because he's young and inexperienced and whiny. And, we make fun of the line, but that was better characterization than anything I've seen in this show.
I'm still not convinced that Obi-Wan would have killed him before he even with this training. If you'd be that whiny, he'd be like, "Yes, take the lightsaber and put it on your forehead. Now concentrate about the force."
Well, I don't think he was trying to. I don't think he was trying to
It'd
train
be good for
Luke
me.
as much as just prevent Vader and the Emperor from getting a hold of him. You know what I mean? Like I never got this sense of he's there to make sure
That he
when
ever liked
trained, because at his current age, that's when he should already be trained.
No, that's not true, because Yoda and Qui-Gon Jinn talked to Obi-Wan in their ghost form and told him how important Luke was. He knew.
Yoda wasn't dead yet.
Oh, but he could project his thoughts.
Right.
You'll see. In
right.
the next Star Wars shows that'll be about Yoda, he'll be like, "Speak with Obi-Wan, I must, through the Force." And then Qui-Gon Jinn will be there. He'll be doing his dance moves with him. "And this step I learned, from Queen Oonga Boonga on the planet Butternut." Now he's got all this company and everything. It's like, how can you be, crazy old Ben now if you have all this company? It's like, he's going to be able to talk to Qui-Gon. I mean,
Well, now he is crazy old Ben because he's talking to voices.
that is true. No, that's probably why they call him crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been great. Show that. He's getting
so
psychological help from Qui-Gon in this series, and everybody else who's seeing this is thinking, the hell's
He's
the
a
matter
total
with you?
nut.
Yeah, this guy's crazy.
He's
What's that Jawa Tweaky or Tweeka or whatever? He's probably
Tika.
Tika's probably going back and telling the other Jawas, "That guy's crazy. He talks to himself all the time.
He stinks and he's crazy.
And he expects the parts to be clean after I steal them."
All right.
like,
On
oh
that
my
note, on that note,
Yeah, 2 thumbs down from me.
2 thumbs down and a twist
Yeah.
of a neck
Yep.
of a writer, the head writer.
yeah, 2 thumbs down. Yeah, it's a shame, man. Such a shame. All
It
right.
is. It's an unforced error.
All right.
We
guys.
will not speak of this again.
No, not until then.
Agreed. So say we all.
All right.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.